Welcome back to the channel. Tune in or ghost out. People always ask if our generation is cooked, and a lot of people, especially other generations, would say yes, and they would name off a list of reasons to why, like we don't like to work or listen or we have an attitude problem, but they also don't tell you the actual reason of why Gen Z is cooked. It's because they deleted a quarter of us before we even saw sunlight, and the ones that did make it out to see the sun were given an Adderall prescription. For some reason, something in my brain was like, oh, you should Google when Adderall was made. And guess what? Adderall was made 1 year before I was born. It was made in 1996. I'm gonna make a lot of unproven claims here. If you have a problem with that, I apologize, but I am truly expressing my opinion. The reason I told you about the amount of people that have been deleted or the creation of Adderall is to emphasize the world that we were born into. With 42% of Gen Z facing some sort of mental health condition, I think getting to the root of that is what's needed. And one thing they don't bring up when they talk about our generation and the struggles that we face is the amount of people that actually grew up in a single parent home. I'm not gonna come on here and bash because I did too, but while I'm very lucky and blessed to have grown up with a mother that cared about me and struggled very hard to support me, I know for a lot of other people of my generation that wasn't the case. If you don't believe me, just look at the rates of loneliness. One of the things growing up as a single child for most of my life taught me was that you're either good at being alone or you're not. I got lost in my video games. It was never really a problem for me, but for a lot of other kids that grew up in situations similar to me, I saw how detrimental it could be growing up by yourself and not even having a parent there by your side. I feel like this point is overlooked, especially for Gen Z. Like when you look at the crime rates and basically every other thing, especially with like things like the rise of OF, all things point to like an unguided society. For as bad as the things that our parents grew up in, they at least had a structure at home that they could turn to. But now all the kids have to look at is the people on TV. Like it was bad for us, but I think for the kids coming after us, it's even worse. That was just a fact that like marriage was already going down for our generation and it just kept going down after. And the really bad part is a lot of the situations will be like single mothers taking care of whole families, which big shout out to the moms that do that. But at the same time, it makes it really hard to put food on the table. I feel like we were just raised all backwards, kind of. I don't want to blame everything on that, but I think it does mess with a young kid's mind, especially when it's not a clean break and you're still seeing both parts and it's very toxic and hurtful. Those are like early seeds being planted and it just kind of wrecks your future. On top of that, studies show that it leads to like lower college graduation, more likely to be in the system or be in poverty because it's not a 2-income household. Putting food on the table becomes harder too. But one of the things that I don't think people really pick up on this is that it makes you afraid of commitment. If you saw that, you know, your parents' situation didn't work out, then when you go and you grow up and it's time for you to get a situation, then you're just going to be terrified it's not going to work out. I feel like that really explains the divorce rates that we're seeing. People are getting married later, they're divorcing higher, and they just don't want to get married at all. It's just kind of crazy to me that America is the richest country, like that is a fact. At the same time, it has the highest rates of children living in single parent households. And like it makes sense because people say that the 90s was a very dangerous time in America, like New York in the 90s was very bad and the mobs and all that. But if you look around you today as an American citizen, like would you say that it's gotten better? I see a YouTube video like every week from somebody saying that they would like not have kids at this age. I see a video every week from people my age saying that they don't want to have kids or like they wouldn't bring kids into a world like this. And while I necessarily don't agree, I can't fault them. It's always been something that bothered me. When we were younger, we at least had like a channel on TV to watch cartoons on Saturday, or we had like Cartoon Network, but now they really don't have anything. This is really not a world for a kid when you think about it. Like we blame parents for putting their kids in front of an iPad, which I also don't agree with, but at the same time, our parents used to stick us in front of a TV. The programming was better because it was controlled, but at the same time, this is kind of like a snowballing effect. The only difference is the world that we grew up in, as dangerous as it was, as crazy as it was, cared about the kids a little bit, even though it was only for money. Like I know they only put cartoons on so we would spend more money and see advertisements, but walking down the stairs on a Saturday morning with Eggo waffles on your plate covered in syrup, watching your favorite cartoon was probably the best thing ever. I remember watching Sonic the Hedgehog and feeling like a kid. Nowadays, the distraction that you have as a kid isn't even that good. Before, you could isolate in cartoons or video games, but now those same cartoons and video games are still worried about what's going on in real life. That sense of disconnecting and just getting lost in fun is lost for kids. And it kind of sucks how things take like a generation or two to show up, and not even show up necessarily, but for people to see the trend. Because I think a lot of Gen Z were iPad kids in the sense of us being in front of the TV all the time, but nobody really had that phenomenon yet. We were the first people introduced to the internet or these different mediums, so no one really thought that it was a problem until now, to like the point that you have people leaving society or just, you know, pulling back a lot. Because back then they would have to trap people to get them to be isolated. Like they would have to do these inhumane experiments to get people to just lock them in a room for this many hours a day. But if you tell the average Reddit user that they're going to be locked in a room for 24 hours, they wouldn't mind. Like I remember I was watching a video and some guy said that he was in VR, like his headset, for 5 days straight. So this level of isolation has never been seen, especially willingly has never been seen. I'm going to make a pretty big jump, but stick with me here. From single parent households to increased isolation, another thing our generation seen at record amounts is the use of stimulants to help kids with ADHD or something of that sort. From Ritalin to Adderall, these drugs define a lot of people's youth. The insanity to me was that they were prescribing this stuff at 2 years old. Like at 2 years old, if you're energetic, it could simply just be that you're a baby. Like you're a kid, you're gonna want to run and scream and do those kid type things. And because you act like yourself, you get put on a medication for it. I know for some people it can do miracle work and help them focus and advance in life. I don't know. Prescribing it at 2 seems insane to me. And even if you manage to get through childhood with no Adderall prescription, it's so widely available that it just ends up becoming a regular drug. I knew a lot of friends that were taking this just to study or to party, and it's crazy. The same Adderall that a 13-year-old would take to just get through the school day is the same dosage that my friend likes to party on. Like, in what world does that make sense? And it's not an accident either, because if you look at how things line up in history, it's not a coincidence that the FDA decided to change regulations that allowed drug companies to advertise to us. Like, how much of a coincidence that Adderall gets made in 96 and 97 the FDA decides to relax regulations to allow drug advertisers to advertise on regular public airways? I'd love to just be a conspiracy theorist, but when everything lines up so well, how can we deny what's in front of us? Our generation, from our inception, has been facing struggle. Not saying that no one else has, but this is a new type of struggle. This is a new age struggle. From the 80% of us that even made it to birth, more than a third of us that didn't have 2-parent households, almost half of us with mental conditions, and the rest with prescriptions. It's not a coincidence that times are looking the way they do. But are we cooked? I guess it depends how you look at it. I listed a lot of bad things in this video. That was kind of the main point of the video. But are we cooked? I would say no. Even with how tough everything is, even with the rates that I showed and all the prescriptions we've been given, Gen Z is more conscious than any other generation. Not boomer conscious. Like, we actually look at things for what they are and dig deeper into things. As much as they like to make it seem like we don't care and we just, scroll through life, we dive into rabbit holes, we learn about the world around us, and we actually form a real opinion. We hate being lied to. So while it's been tough, and it looks tough for a lot of us, we are probably the most in control, and in terms of opportunity, it looks different, definitely. The world makes it seem like there's none out there, but this is probably the freest time that we've been. You have so many avenues to do something, sometimes it's just doing them, but I know I painted a bleak picture, but I just want to go over some facts that really paint what Gen Z has been through. A lot of people point fingers and just call us lazy, but I think there's a lot of things that people overlook that had major impacts. If you disagree or agree with anything I said here today, please go ahead and drop a comment and let me know your thoughts on this topic. Do you think we're cooked? Is there a way to change the trajectory that we're on? If you haven't liked the video, please go ahead and drop a like on the video. And a subscription does more for me than you could ever know. With that being said, thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Transmission complete. Signal terminating. This is Ghostthread, signing off.